It happens in a perfectly ordinary instant. You sit down to dinner on a Tuesday, and then someone is gone. The next morning, you wake up. You open your eyes, and the first thing you notice is the quiet. Not a peaceful quiet, a heavy quiet. The kind of quiet that seems to fill every corner of a house that was built to hold two people. The clock on the mantelpiece sounds suddenly too loud. The morning light comes into the room as if nothing has happened. Dust moves in the air, the world carries on. And yet, your world has ended. You walk into the sitting room and look at the empty chair. You know, logically, that they are not coming back to sit in it. But your mind cannot accept it. Not fully, not all at once, because grief is not always what we expect it to be. We imagine crying. We imagine breaking down. We imagine some great outpouring of despair. But sometimes grief is stranger than that. Sometimes it is blankness. You look down at your own hands, and they feel almost separate from you. You walk into the kitchen to make a cup of tea, and by the time you reach the kettle, you have forgotten why you are there. So you stand there looking at the tiles, waiting for your thoughts to come back. This is the blunt, physical reality of absence. When someone dies, they do not just take the future with them, they take the sounds of their existence, the key in the lock, the clearing of a throat, the sound of their footsteps on the landing. And suddenly, you are left alone in the center of a silence that seems to fill the whole house. Eventually, the day comes when you have to open the wardrobe. This is one of the quietest labors of grief, sorting through what is left behind. You stand in front of a row of clothes, and you realize how much of a life is held in ordinary fabric. A coat, a jumper, a shirt they wore on an ordinary day. You touch the sleeve of an old wool coat. You lean in just for a second, and there it is, the scent of them. So real, so sudden, so close. For one small moment, it feels as if the present has folded in on itself, as if they might still be in the next room. Then the moment passes, and you are standing there again, holding a coat. You begin to sort through drawers, and grief hides in the smallest things. A chipped mug you cannot throw away, a drawer full of receipts, a train ticket from a holiday 20 years ago, a piece of paper with their handwriting on it. Just a shopping list, perhaps. Bread, milk, tea. Nothing important, really. And yet it is almost unbearable, because the handwriting proves that their hand was once warm, that they once stood in a kitchen and thought about ordinary things, that they were alive. The mind does strange things when it meets the objects of a life. A pair of shoes by the door can feel impossible to move. You know they will not need them again. And still, something inside you resists. What if they come back? What if they need them? So you leave the shoes where they are. You leave the coat on its peg. You leave the cup in the cupboard. And without meaning to, you become the keeper of a small museum. A museum of ordinary things. Things that would mean nothing to anyone else. But to you, each one carries a whole life. Then you step outside. And this can be one of the cruelest parts. The world has not stopped. People are still crossing the road. Cars are still passing. Someone is buying apples. Someone is laughing. Someone is complaining about the weather. And you look at them and wonder how they can possibly carry on. How can the buses still run? How can the shops still open? How can the sky still be blue? Do they not know what has happened? But of course they do not. Not really, because grief is private, even when people know about it. And then you meet friends, neighbors, people who mean well. They approach you carefully, as if your sadness might break if they touch it too directly. They speak in soft voices. They ask how you are. They bring food wrapped in foil. They stand on the doorstep, not quite knowing whether to come in or leave. And you find yourself comforting them. You smile. You nod. You say, "I'm managing, thank you." You say it because it is easier. You say it because people want grief to become tidy. They want it to move from raw pain into something quieter, something manageable, something they can understand. But inside, your hands are trembling. Inside, you are still listening for the key in the door. Inside, you are still turning towards the chair where they used to sit. That is one of the loneliest things about grief. The way it separates you from the ordinary world. You are still there, still walking down the street, still answering the phone, still making cups of tea. But part of you is living somewhere else, a room no one else can enter. And in that room, they are still present, not in a dramatic way, not as a sign, but in the habits of your own life. You make too much tea. You turn to tell them something. You hear a joke and think, they would have laughed at that. You see something in a shop window and think, I must tell them. And then you remember, again. Grief is not one moment of realization. It is hundreds of small realizations. Over and over. They are not here. They are not coming back. They will not answer. They will not walk into the room. They will not say your name. And yet love does not end because a life has ended. That is the part we do not always know how to speak about. The person is gone, but the love remains. It changes shape. It has nowhere obvious to go. So it settles into rooms, into objects, into memory, into the way you speak about them, into the way you still protect their favorite mug, into the way you cannot quite bring yourself to delete their number. People sometimes say that time heals, but perhaps time does something more complicated. It does not remove the loss. It teaches you how to live beside it. At first, grief fills every room. It sits beside you at breakfast. It follows you to the shops. It wakes you in the night. Later, it becomes quieter. Not smaller exactly, just less violent in its arrival. You learn where it lives. You learn which songs will bring it back, which dates will undo you, which ordinary objects are still too powerful to touch. And slowly, without quite noticing, you begin to live again, not in the same way. Never in the same way, but you begin. You boil the kettle. You open the curtains. You answer a letter. You sit in the garden and feel the air on your face. And one day, perhaps, you find yourself smiling at something. Not because you have forgotten, but because life has made a little room around the sorrow. There is no betrayal in continuing. There is no betrayal in laughing again. There is no betrayal in enjoying the warmth of the sun, or the taste of tea, or the sound of rain against the window. To go on living is not to leave them behind. It is to carry them differently. And maybe that is what grief asks of us in the end. Not to stop loving, not to stop remembering, but to find a way to hold the love without being destroyed by it. To let the ordinary things become tender instead of unbearable. The chair, the cup, the coat, the handwriting, the familiar room, all of it says the same thing. Someone was here, someone was loved. A life happened in this place. And although they are gone, the love they left behind has not disappeared. I'll leave you with a beautiful sentiment from a sermon given by the priest. Henry Scott Holland at a funeral service. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still.